Just want to make a little video topic here. You can call it well, I don't know what to call it, not really. You call it the world of heavy metal or the world of music, according to Metal Dave or whatever, if you want to. But either way, the thing I like to talk about here, and this I don't claim to be right. I don't, I'm not worried about whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong. I could be completely wrong about this. Who knows? And quite frankly, I do this. It's just a personal take of mine. So that is, and I think that's the important thing for me personally. Now, what I want to talk about is I want to talk about things like differences between originality and paying tribute to your favourite musicians, to your favourite artists and whatnot. And, it's like which one of those is better to do for artists, or which do I prefer as a fan, or as a fan combined with being a musician myself. And personally, I don't think there is, for a lot of years in my youth, or as a young developing musician, hoping to get to a certain standard, originality was quite important to me. And I didn't like. In amongst all that, I first started to discover tribute bands to Black Sabbath, to Motorhead, to AC/DC, to Ozzy Osbourne, all sorts of people, all sorts of household names, Alice Cooper, Metallica, and the list goes on and on when it comes to legends in heavy metal and that sort of thing. And so this is where the music started to fall into a different camp here, and particularly when it came to bands that got a lot of gigs, that got a lot of recognition and stuff like that. It was like now at one point, originality was important, and then suddenly it's like when it came to bands that wanted to get signed to record contracts, record companies, and then it came to a point where bands got an awful lot of gigs because that was what the audience wanted to see, wanted to see and hear. They wanted to go and see something that was like their favourite band and what have you. And now I kind of was a bit and ah about this, and I was, and conflicting emotion and interest in various different, it's like what sort of bands do I want to go and see and all that kind of stuff. But later on, in more towards recent years, my distaste for tribute musicians, whether it be a musician that wanted to be just like their favourite band, or whether it be somebody that wanted to generally sound a little bit like their favourite kind of music. Let's say they grew up in a certain time or a certain genre of music, that sort of thing. I'm getting annoyed with that roadworks out there. It's making a lot of fucking noise when I'm trying to make a video here. Anyway. But I started to relax a little bit, to chill out a little bit more about because the important thing I find after so many years and so much experience of going to watch bands and also playing music myself and whatnot, the important thing is that what makes, to my own personal opinion, what makes a great musician is someone that lives and dies for their music. A great band, a really, really killer band, is, like I say, somebody that absolutely live for what they do. Whether they want to be whether they want to be like Iron Maiden, or whether they want to be like the Iron Maiden type of heavy metal music. It's like, or whether they want to be someone that's more experimental with, because they love experimenting with different sounds. Either way, they love the music they play, and the love for the music you play, it comes out in their music. It really does. It's like you can really tell, because whether you want to be someone completely different, it's like, let's just say you got the box, a certain box, that this box is the type of music. Like, for example, metal. We love metal. I love other kinds of music too, but metal's my favorite. So you come into heavy metal music, and you want to take the core of what it is, but you want to branch out. You want to try a little bit. You want to experiment with a bit of this and a bit of that. You want to come out. You want to create some sort of concoction of your own ideas. Perhaps you relish in the idea that you're doing something that most other heavy metal bands are afraid to do. All of that kind of thing, and it's come to a point now where everything's being done. Every kind of music has been played. And of course that's a good thing as well. It's like, there's music is music, and it's to be enjoyed. But the important thing is for musicians to live for what they do with an absolute passionate feeling. So now, like I say, back in the day when you had your game changers both in and out of heavy metal music. It's like, Jimi Hendrix was a game changer of the electric guitar, after your like Hank Marvin's and all that sort of thing, really ripping up that kind of like turn the volume up real loud, electrifying the blues kind of influences and whatnot. You know, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, they were like heavy music, if you like. They were like game changers in rock and whatnot. And then further down the line, when you get your bands like Judas Priest, AC/DC, Iron Maiden, all of that kind of thing, it's like they were game changers. And then, of course, into the 80s, where you had Motley Crue on one side, and then you had Metallica on the others, taking the whole thrash thing, starting the whole thrash thing, or speed metal thing, whatever, extreme music and that, Slayer, up further to through the roof, all that kind of stuff. And then you could go, say, in the 90s, where you had, dare I say this, like the grunge thing with like Nirvana being a game changer again, and then on the other side back to metal, Pantera for like this explosive groove kind of sound, or even before that with like Entombed, death metal Swedish thing or whatever. All these game changers. Now, with some of the ones that made a big impact, let's say Metallica's Kill 'Em All or whatnot, or Iron Maiden's debut album, or and there are quite a few other, between everything I've just mentioned, there's quite a lot of other game-changing groundbreakers out there, and my personal take is, whether you're trying to be completely different or whether you're paying tribute to your favourite bands and being honest about it, make no bones about it, you live for what you do. But what would I say about the game changers? The only thing I can say about them is they were in the right place at the right time. I don't know what the facts are. I couldn't tell you. I can't answer that. And again, it's all my own take on it as well, because I don't know facts here. I can only talk about my own experiences, where when I first heard it's this so-called new band that were like the game changer in rock or a game changer in metal, whatever. It's like they were probably they were in the right place at the right time, when before that things were starting to sound a bit safe, where that was the norm, that was the trend in rock, that was what the expectations were when it came to the big shots, the ones that had all the money, that sort of thing. It was like, well, if you want to make lots of money, this is what you have to play, all that kind of stuff. If you want the fame and success, if you want the world recognition, this is the kind of music you have to play, and you have to mold yourself and dress like it and look like it and all that kind of thing, you know. And then suddenly this other band is now, you know, nobody else sounds like him, nobody else looks like him, nobody else does like him. I don't know. That was again game changers. They were in the right place at the right time when music or everything else was getting a bit safe and a bit boring and a bit unexciting. So certain bands or certain artists came along and they gave it a right sharp kick up the ass kind of thing. And the same thing happens. It happens in mainstream. It happens in the underground and whatnot. And again, that's another thing. It's like the difference between mainstream and underground. It's not something I'm going to open up a great. I don't want to open up another great big topic on it. Not for this video. But again, it's like whether you're, like I said, I mentioned Motley Crue on one side, and then I mentioned Metallica on the other side. Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Slayer. Which are the heaviest of the two? Well, we all know that, don't we? But either way, the bands, they all live for what they do. Now there might be other different motivations for the mainstream kind of thing. I don't, because they might, but and okay, on that is another conversation. That is another topic. But I think the important thing, the bottom line, with pretty much. And like I say, to me, is bands that if they live for what they do, because in my opinion, there are good metal bands, there are good rock bands, there are good mainstream bands. Even though metal is my favourite kind of thing, and I prefer to listen to metal, but I hear bands in other areas of music, whatever it is, within reason, of course. But and if there's anything that I notice about him is they live for what they do, and I don't really look into it. I just hear it, and if I enjoy it and I feel it with a bit of if I feel something when I listen to something, if I feel something for it, and it's like I can tell that they live for what they do, and that is the bottom line.